Well, we've talked about forest structure, tree size, how trees grow. We've talked about the race for available light and forest succession. I'm speaking to you from inside a western Douglas fir forest. And speaking of forest structure, you can see that the trees in a western Douglas fir forest are relatively close together. There's not much spacing between trees. The type of forest we see here in western Oregon is a combination of rainfall, soil type, regional climate, a number of factors. So this is what a western Douglas fir forest might look like. But we all know that forests are not created equal, and the forests where you live may look very different than what you see here. If you were to go to eastern Oregon and cross the Cascade Mountains, you'd find that forests look quite different there. It's all about rainfall in terms of how the forests are structured in Oregon. West of the Cascade Range, there's more rainfall. Trees are closer together. If you go to eastern Oregon, there's less rainfall. Forests there are not dominated by Douglas fir, what you see here. Forests in eastern Oregon, east of the Cascade Range, are dominated by ponderosa pine. In fact, ponderosa pine is the #1 tree you would see in between the Cascade Range and the Rocky Mountains, a wide area where ponderosa pine dominates. What you'd also find is that the trees are spaced farther apart in a ponderosa pine forest. So this spacing of trees may make little difference to you. It may seem of minimal value, but it means a lot for a forest researcher. In a separate module produced by OpenOSU, what we'll find is that how far apart your trees are from one another will influence the size of the area you work within as a forest researcher. This is called plot size determination. What you will do in this separate module is apply principles of geometry to selection and determination of radial plot size. In other words, you are going to superimpose a large circle in a forest area. What you'll find is that the farther apart your trees are, the larger your radial plot size needs to be. In an area such as this, a western Douglas fir forest with trees that are relatively close together, your radial plot size does not need to be as large. But more about that in that separate OpenOSU module, where we will focus on geometry and principles of geometry.